Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Event Ready Podcast, where we talk about our roller coaster ride of being a live event artist.
So if you're a painter, calligrapher, or illustrator, this podcast is for you because we are about to uncover the secrets, the stories, and the struggles of this industry.
And we're your hosts. I'm Telisa.
I'm Isabel.
All right. We are on episode 6. And today, our episode is more educational versus pouring out our feelings.
we did so much feelings episodes.
Yeah, we did.
We have to rein it back a little bit.
Yeah. We're like, hey, it's time to do some educational. And today we're gonna be talking about balancing speed and quality.
Yes.
So get your notepads ready.
Hopefully, we are going to give you enough information to feel confident about how to balance those things.
Because you know what? We hear about it all the time from our clients and we want to spill the tea. Can you spill the tea? Yeah.
You spill it.
Me? You want me to spill it? Okay.
You spill it.
The tea is you can achieve the balance of speed and quality with intentional practice. So you don't have to compromise one or the other. You can absolutely do both.
To an extent.
To an extent, yes.
And that, finding that edge is kind of that's the art of it.
That is definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about why this matters. Why this is important. There's so many different types of events. I think when we kind of fell into this industry, we just thought of them as this is a client, this is an event. I'm just gonna go do this one thing. But then as we kind of got more and more exposed to different types of events, different types of hiring parties, all that stuff, then we had kind of more data to think about, there's this type of event that's more geared towards sales. There's this type of event that's more geared towards appreciating your VIPs. And there's this type of event that's really focused about every single person must leave with one of these.
Yeah.
And so it kind of all boils down to this. We need to be fast and we need to be good.
Yeah, pretty much. And I know that we mentioned this in the previous episodes. We kind of touch upon it, but we want to get into really deep into what it means by balancing speed and quality with actionable advice at the end. So, yeah. So because I think, there is a demand for the output, which is how many you can do, and also the impact of what it's for. I know that we've considered about guest experience, but at the end of the day, sometimes it is how many can you do, how fast you can do it is the one thing that the client asks in mind. They always want to know about that. What's the turnaround? What's your capacity? Yeah. What's your capacity? And they probably get different questions, but also so they get different answers, but they want to see what's more efficient. Right.
And sometimes it's after an event, what's the thing you report back first? It's almost always, this is how many we did.
Yeah. That's true. I always get asked, so how many did you do?
Yeah, it's it's a measurable thing for the client. They want to know because that's the number they can report to somebody higher up or whatever it is. So if it's something they care to measure, then that's something we should care about delivering. Obviously, sometimes it's not up to you. Luck is luck. Foot traffic is what it's going to be. Some days are just not great for the mall or whatever it is. But when you do get a certain number, that proves something about the event was successful.
Or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they do think of how valuable that event was based on how many people got the personalization, what was the experience of those people. And I know as artists, we don't want to face this sometimes, but sometimes they're not, the priority is not how good the art was. Sometimes the priority is just how many did we do? How much sales did we make that day? That's how they evaluate it.
Yeah. A lot of times it's usually more so with the retail, because it's they're a lot of times they're trying to hit sales goals. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just for brand awareness. Just they just want to see like, oh, they're working with an artist, just to like see, because oh, I see. Ooh, what are you doing? And like, you know, if it's like a new brand that maybe came to your country, to like that's when it's not a priority. Speed is not a priority.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it is a priority. So it's so much of a priority that now I've actually been like tracking how many I've done for every single event, whether it's calligraphy, how many stuff that I've done a calligraphy on, or like, you know, personalization, customization versus illustration. So I've been like keeping track of that, because now I'm realizing like so many clients have always asked me like to give them a report. So how many did you do?
Yeah. And sometimes we all done this. This is a minor confession. Sometimes we had to make those numbers up a little bit because we didn't track it closely enough, or like things happen on site. It's okay. But that's what they're interested in. They want to know, because especially because when that hiring party wasn't there, which is like 98% of the time, they have nothing else to go on. If you send them a couple of pretty pictures, it's like, yeah, that's awesome. But like, what was the impact?
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes even if it's not like a sales goals thing, you know, like there's a set number amount of guests, like, you know, like weddings or like a PR media events, they like what you said, they want everybody to come home with a personalized something. So so the speed is obviously prioritized. So there's like, you know, that quality and time management is very, very crucial. So like, you know, that's when we decide what to do, how to tackle it from the get-go, from the discovery phase, like to set that clear expectation. Is this something that we need to have multiple artists? Is it something, or maybe you could maybe reduce the amount of personalization, where, you know, restrict the rules, like maybe just a name or initials, or you can also ask your client that if you want to, you know, have a strict personalization request, and maybe have a very clear sign and someone has to communicate it. Should I hire an assistant, or should you have an ambassador? So there is an alignment of expectation. So as long as both expectation is aligned, where they want something out of it, they want you to be able to complete it, they want just like a very minimal personalization just to have that impact, less detailed stuff, then it's probably you can probably do it yourself, and they're gonna hire an assistant, or you can, if they have the budget, you can probably subcontract another artist. I've actually given options for my clients, like this is how much it would be if I'm working by myself. I can do this many. Yes, I can, but I'm not gonna be talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you want to have that guest experience, you know, where I'm chatting with them, communicating whatnot, we can have two artists. So like I'm very clear on that with my clients, what they want, and sometimes they decide like whatever they want to decide. So depending what budget they have.
Yeah, I think having options is really useful. I didn't used to communicate that way.
Mhm.
And I found that that has been very successful.
Yeah.
And those options can be designed, by the way, to make one option feel more desirable.
Yeah. Yes.
And,
But you give them the power to choose.
yes. Why does everything we say sound like it's like from a parenting perspective? It's like you can have this cookie or this ice cream, but why one you gotta like you can design it so that something sounds better than the other. That's a like a maybe a higher level issue here. But like I think I used to just think of it like, oh well, I'm just gonna answer this inquiry with like, this is what I like to do, this is what I'm gonna do, this is what I can deliver, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
But you can be a little bit more creative, like the way Telisa, you just said it. Like, give them options, give them the power to choose. They can take it back to their team and evaluate, like, oh, you know what, she can do this, but also we can like try this one. That might be better because you don't know, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not as a collaborative conversation as we would prefer it to be, where not every single client is the type to have a 30-minute discovery call with you where you discuss your hopes and dreams of what this event's going to look like. That just doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't even really know what the end goal is for that particular. Maybe they don't have a specific vision. They're just like, this is what we want to do. How might that look like, right? Once you're providing these options, then they can think about it a little bit more and then come back to you. It's not so much like a real-time effort on deciding what that is. So yeah, like you said, this is the capacity that I can work at. And then if I invite somebody else, this is what that might look like. We might be able to achieve this many in this many hours. And it's kind of up to you, to state your, what's the word here? Like what's feasible.
Yeah.
To be just, like you said, set clear expectations. This is what's feasible. And sometimes they will, by the way, introduce variables that are not feasible. And they'll ask you to do that. They'll ask you to accomplish that, right? Like, this is how many guests we have, and we need this and this and this and that done. Are you available? And it's as if they've already decided that's feasible, right? They didn't ask you whether or not it's feasible for you. They're just asking, hey, are you free to do, this is what we want to do. And this is a time and chance for you to say, like, I am free, but what you are suggesting is not feasible. And say it in a professional, clear, concise way, and just introduce a solution.
And sometimes, a lot of times, like, we illustration, like, we can't really do it as fast as like calligraphy or engraving. So we're like, okay, if we're doing this in 2 hours, this is going to be a first come first serve base. I hope you understand that. Like, this is not everybody will get it kind of thing. So I think as long as you're like very clear and open, like, not open, very clear with your communication, your expectation, I think they'll decide whatever works for them. Sometimes, like I would say, like, if you have 2 artists, we can have 2-3 words or like 5 words even per personalization. But if the intention was just to get everybody's email from this event, then like it's probably 1 word is enough. Just it's depending on what their goal is, right? Because I've definitely had variety of different reasons why they want to hire a live artist. So now let's talk about like the speed side of the equation. Why speed matters.
This I feel like we've talked about before, but it's so nice to give a refresher. Speed is, I think, a very large ingredient in how magical the experience is. Like, speed is impressive. no matter what, if you're coming to watch somebody do a thing and it's
Mhm.
artistic and it's amazing, it's something you could never do, like, and them doing it in 5 minutes or less, it's like that's very impactful.
Mhm.
So the more impact you're making, like the more valuable that is
Yeah.
to the client. And obviously, I don't know.
Like the more guests get something personalized, the better the engagement, obviously. Like, we all like when we're looking at like engagement of our social media, like how many people liked it, how many people comment, it's the same thing with that. Like how many people got the personalization, how many customers bought something personalized. So it's like, that's why it's like, that's why speed matters if you're, and then I feel like it's the reason why sometimes you need to, there are ways to do that. There are ways to reduce the amount of time of how to produce speed art, like fast art, but still looks good, like still looks
Mhm.
presentable.
Yeah. And we're not saying that um like, oh, you have to give up your identity as an artist of like what kind of artwork you create. Like this is something that you can intentionally create for this line of work.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could be a live artist doing live art, and for when you're doing studio work, your stuff looks completely different. That's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
That's okay.
That is okay.
Yeah.
And I think like um some of us might get stuck in that mentality of like, oh well, like I don't want to compromise, my way of doing art,
Mm-hmm.
um and if I'm gonna do a painting, I'm gonna do it in 45 minutes. Like that's totally okay for a situation that doesn't value your speed, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
some private client asking you to create an heirloom piece of art. Like, of course, they want you to spend more time on it. That's
Yeah.
totally like that's just a different context, right?
Yeah.
Coming in to receive a freebie with like a thing that they bought a purse and they get a drawing. That thing has to be fast. That thing has to be impactful.
Mm-hmm.
They walk away feeling like, damn, like that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Not like, oh, I need 45 minutes to complete this. Please come back and get it. Then it like kind of loses the magic, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And there's time and place to do that, like to have a slow art and a fast art. And the only way to do that is consistent practice. It's like a very basic advice. But what we mean by that is when you do consistent practice, it's like your muscle memory is more developed and more confidence, and your movement is more fluid. I'm going to give an example of, like, say for example, engraving. When you're very trained in engraving, when you do your stroke, you do it like in such a smooth one line, like you're not going over like a stroke, like a strokey, line, which makes it look very uh not smooth.
Mm-hmm.
um because that's when like it's like the muscle memory is not developed. So that's like
Yeah.
one example. But I can also talk about like illustration. Like, you can tell when someone is very good at drawing fast is when their lines are very confident. The strokes of like how um like it doesn't have that sketchy broken
Broken
lines.
lines. Broken
uh
lines or like overlapped colors. That's
yeah.
like there's so many things that you can consciously kind of practice to
Yeah.
remove that nervousness or that um I'm losing words today.
It's like,
You can take that out of your on-site experience if you do it enough. Then
mhm.
you won't have that like hesitation.
Yeah, the
That's the word.
hesitation. The hesitation makes you like keep retouching your
Yeah,
strokes, and
and then
the
waste
less,
time.
yeah, the less, the more minimal that
Yep.
it touched the paper, the faster you are.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's not an overnight thing for sure. It's not like something like you see and you can do it right away, but that's yeah. Another way is to streamline your process. Let's give an example.
Yeah, because actually, this is something that I feel like when I introduced paint on site became a bit of a challenge. Because like there's palettes that have like 24 colors or even more.
Yeah.
And you open this thing up, and how many colors do you actually realistically use on site? And it's not many.
No. It's
if you just like consciously when you're practicing, like notice these things about your actual work, you'll just be more observant to what it is that you're doing. You'll notice you probably touch like 6 colors constantly or whatever it is. And then just don't bring them all.
Yeah, you don't need like a massive thousands of colors in front of you because you're going to get so overwhelmed. And then it slows you down.
Yeah, if you don't have those in front of you, then you're not going to use them. And I know that like really pretty light turquoise color is in your palette, and the like magical moment comes when you're able to use it. It's like beautiful. But if you don't have that color, you're just gonna take whatever green you have, water it down, and it's fine.
Like literally just mix them.
That's what it is. That's what it is. I feel like it's just like learning where to let go. Like, well, it's okay that I express this green with this very close green and just let it go.
I like literally this illustration is one thing that I know very noticeably where we kept developing and changing our tools or like because we noticed like, hey, nobody ever like wear orange, so I don't think we need orange. I just mix red and yellow. Okay,
Oh my god,
it's so like true. But I have like 2 types of blues because everybody wears jeans. The cool blue and then like the warm. So we usually we have like a limited palettes. And I do the same for like bottle painting too. Like I do like a lot of obviously more flowers. So there's a lot of pinks and whatnot. And the pinks and greens are always like I had to like load up. I usually have the same palette over and over, and I've gotten comfortable that I don't have that many. Like I have like like the colors that I bought for experimental, but I realized I can just like mix it. Right. I think the only times that I have like other colors because I do also like a lot of pet portraits. So I have like like more like a brown tone and whatnot. And for people, I have actually what I did is I pre-mixed skin tones for all ethnicities. So I made my own mix with all the RGB based on the art using the RGB method. So like there's a cool tone, a warm tone for different skin, and then that really like saves so much time, so I don't have to like mix mix
it every time.
Mix it in from the start. It's very helpful. I use gouache. Personally, I love it. It's a little bit different than watercolor, so I just pre-mix it myself. I made my own so I brought like a blank. Let's see, have it here.
Take it out.
Yeah, take it out. So
if you're not on YouTube, shame on you. Just kidding.
So if you're on YouTube, you can watch this. This is like my blank. I got this blank, like a watercolor pen holders, and then basically this is the only colors that I use. So these are the skin color. I don't want to drop it. The skin color that I pre-mix myself. I have the black, white, the greens, the blues, the warm, and the cool tones, and that's all I have. That's it. And I just
that's so good.
And it's been
can see
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
I can see that being
Um,
so helpful. When you first told me that you did that, I didn't even know it occupied like half of your palette. That's so good because that ends up being the one thing that you want to get right. Just skin tone. Like,
yeah.
who cares if it's like light denim looks a little bit more purple than blue? Nobody cares.
Nobody
But if
cares.
you get their skin shade wrong,
People can get offended, especially
don't
when they're like dark tone and you made them
don't do
lighter. They don't
it.
like it. So
No, they don't like it. I've been called out on that before to my face, and then I
and yeah, so that's like, you think about that, right? Those are like the stuff that you think about all the time and you want to have that ready. So I find that very helpful. That's for illustration, for portrait.
Mhm.
So I do a lot of those portraits stuff. So
These
what else?
days, I've been doing more like skin markers and then paint for the rest,
Mhm.
which is another way. If I have skins, then I don't have to mix it.
Mhm.
But that also takes getting to know your markers.
Mhm.
This is one thing I have noticed what can waste time with markers is if you don't know the colors really
Mhm.
well, because
Mhm.
then you're having to like uncap it and like test it on a little swatch and then touch your drawing.
Yeah, you don't want
It's
to you don't want to swatch you don't want to swatch while you're doing events, right? You want to
it's
know.
I know it feels like it takes a couple seconds, like it's no big deal, but it's can you do it on every drawing? That's annoying.
Yeah.
So now I know exactly like what raw silk means and what toast means, and like on every marker, I can see the color in my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's streamlining your process, like figuring out how it is that you like doing something faster, and constantly observing, like
Constantly.
what can I shave time off of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? Oh, the tools and setup. My setup always changing. My tools is always changing too. Um, like let's give an example for like illustration. Like you've shared that in your wedding illustration episode, what you use, the tools that you use. And I love that you're sharing the Swedish the Swedish
Oh, the cloth.
the cloth, yeah, because like it's so useful. Like I keep it in this thing so it doesn't like
So
walk.
cute.
Yeah, so it doesn't like go anywhere. Like it doesn't I like to keep my rinse jar and my towel uh in a more contained area so then it's not flying everywhere. So like those stuff are like, when you have the habit of like where your hand needs to go, like what brush to put, like that takes like a habit,
Yeah.
like it can, every single second matters. So like it just, um, so those stuff is like, it's always changing and evolving.
Yeah. You're right. Like you don't think about it now, but trying to develop that in the beginning, that was really tough. I feel like
It was.
I mean, like you said, we're still changing from time to time, but it's not as often as we used to.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like
It
I
was
still like to see what other artists are using.
yeah.
Um, I think it's the great thing about like having that conversation with your colleagues and fellow artists,
hmm
you know.
Um things like water based fine
Mhm.
liners versus waterproof fine liners.
Yes, those are like the other things that I'm like, okay, which one is like fast drawing and it's like,
Yeah.
you know, waterproof. That was
Can
that
this marker
required.
touch wet paint so that I don't have to wait? Uh,
Or like
yeah.
it could also be like the order of your drawing. Do you do outline first or do you do the color first? Like
Yeah.
you make that decision and you practice that you know, that's like going beyond the technical,
Yeah.
how to draw, right? Those are the stuff that like you experiment in order for you to draw really fast.
Hmm. And there's no right answer.
Nope, it's a personal thing. This is why like when people ask me like what tools do you use for your like your illustration, I'm like, you know what, I'm using this, but it might change in the next 2 years. I don't know. I would 100% recommend that you try your own and see what works for you, because like if it works for me, it might not work for you. Like it just makes,
Yeah,
it's a very personal preference.
100%. You know, sometimes I feel like it's like fashion.
Mhm.
If you have like the entire wardrobe of like a style icon,
Mhm.
you could step into that wardrobe and you have all these things in front of you, but you
Mhm.
don't have the like knowledge or expertise to put them together in a way that's like amazing.
Mhm.
Whereas like a stylist whose expertise is to put things together in a way that's like impactful, um they will be able to approach that in like seconds and be like, this shoe goes with this bag and that shirt, and then they're like,
Yeah.
bam, this is the
Yeah.
look in 4 seconds.
Uh-huh.
You can't do that if you have all the same things in front of you. Like you can't just step into the
Yeah.
closet and make that
Mhm.
same look.
Mhm.
So yeah, like if you have all the tools that somebody else uses, just like you and I shared,
Mhm.
you still got to do it. You still you still gotta put the tools to the paper and figure out which way works for you,
Mhm.
which way is fast for you, which way looks good for you.
Mhm.
Um, that's the magic. That's
That's the
the
magic, yeah.
that's the magic. Proof is in the pudding.
So that's like on illustration, but um for calligraphy or engraving, what is, do you have like a what you do to make things fast,
For engraving,
or calligraphy?
I want to say for engraving, anytime I want to shave time, it's just drafting. It's
Mhm.
just toss it.
Also drafting.
Just toss
I
the
have-
draft. Oh, actually, no, this is thank you for asking me that. I didn't even think about that because a recent event I just did, and we're engraving on these plaster diffuser things, right?
Mhm, mhm,
And because it's plaster, it's not glass. I can't. So okay. So my initial plan, and at home when I was testing the product, I was like, oh, I could probably like do a pencil sketch on it or whatever, and then touch
mhm,
it up or erase it after.
mhm.
Or I'll just make sure I'll engrave over my pencil lines and then they'll just disappear. Okay,
Yeah.
great. No problem. And when I get on site, the very first one I did with a pencil draft, and then because on site degrades everything, no matter what you do, right? You go on site and things just it's just always not the same as at
Yeah,
home.
of course.
So if you do this thing and I'm like, oh, a pencil line is showing, and I get my eraser and I erase it, and like a smudge line appears, and I just like,
The way that I could envision that already.
yeah. You're just like,
Mhm.
and right there in front of me, I was like, that's it, no draft. Like, I just
Okay.
no. After the first one, I was like, no more drafting, no more
No.
nothing, just freehand the thing. It's 2 letters, just get over it. But that's what it is, right? Like you want to save the time and you want to make the product the best looking in it. Like I know I can do this without the draft, so why am I doing it?
Yeah.
Um, that's honestly like the quickest thing for engraving. Just ditch the draft.
Just the draft.
Just unless it's like a 5 line
And it
poem.
also like depending on like the value of the item, where you need to draft or where you don't need to draft. If it's like a $2 keychain, I am not going to like overthink it.
No.
Right? So I'm not like this is it. But if it's like an expensive like $1,000 worth of perfume, I will freaking
Oh
draft
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Let me
Yeah.
go back in time and fix my
Yeah.
story and add a disclaimer like on less important things.
It's like you make that decision based on like, do I need to go fast or do I need to go quality?
Yeah.
that's when you make that decision. But
Mhm.
since we're talking about speed, so yeah, I ditched the draft and as well, and I also I learned Spencerian for the reason of it being faster to do
Yeah.
engraving because it's monoline. You only add some swells on the capitals and some of the on the minuscule. So like it's so much faster, and it's just it's also it saves, it's like it doesn't take so much space as much as like modern when you do bouncy, and it's easier to read. So
Mhm.
it's like a win-win in every way. Like, you know, the customer can read it and it's also gender neutral. Like it looks nice for both, for
Mhm.
anybody. Because I've definitely had someone asking, can you do engraving in like in a more masculine script style? And I'm like, well, Spencerian is very like gender neutral, I think. Like
Yeah.
it's not, it doesn't look feminine, it also doesn't look like masculine. It looks like for anybody, right? So
And I feel like that's just like what's popular now also is just to be like cleaner, more classic. Like
mhm,
that's especially like for monograms sometimes. You know, people just
mhm,
want less letters or like you do you know what I'm trying to get at? People
yeah,
just want like more of a clean, simplistic look
yeah,
and something with like very standardized lines and slant or whatever
yeah,
um tends to be a little bit more desirable these days,
yeah. It's
I
just,
find.
yeah, it's more, yeah, it's more familiar for them than seeing.
And as a matter of like for engraving, because the contrast is not so obvious as like black and white as
Mm,
ink on paper.
mhm,
Back to your point about legibility,
mhm,
when it's like gold on like yellow liquid, it's
mhm.
legibility becomes even more of an issue when the contrast is so low, right?
Yeah,
It's like people can
yeah,
hardly read it as it is. Like
yeah. So like,
we really need to be extra obvious on how readable it is. Yeah.
yeah, like even like I don't even use like all the like I don't like some letters from the standard writing because people don't understand what letter that is, so I would change the style.
Mhm.
Like you know, like letter S sometimes, like it's or
Yes.
like letter J and I and T that looks very
This is
similar.
a This is a really good point.
Yeah.
Especially when there's no context, right? Like for a monogram, like an I, right?
Mhm.
Or a T. Yeah. Nobody knows what a T looks like in
Mhm.
calligraphy. If it's just a T on its own,
Mhm.
normal people don't know
Mhm.
what a T looks like in cursive,
Yeah.
even in cursive, let alone calligraphy. So if you're just doing that capital letter, like save yourself the time and headache, just do a T that looks like a T that's not a
Like a
calligraphy
normal
T.
people understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Like you know how like in the Spencerian tea sometimes the crossing is like floating?
yeah. Yeah.
I don't do that
We
shit
can't do
anymore.
that.
No, because every single time I do that, people question like, what is
It's like,
that?
what
Is
is
that
that?
why is it not touching the T? Is that letter T? Is that letter L? I'm like, I'm not
Yeah.
doing that shit anymore. I
Yeah.
this is it's always going to cross like a normal T.
I'm so happy you said this because as much as we push like classic calligraphy and learning the script what it is, it doesn't mean that that has to be like to the letter, like
No.
to the rule. No, you have to bend those rules, especially on site.
Yeah.
People are gonna be pissed if they're like, that's not what my name looks like.
Yeah.
That's not a T. What did you just write? We don't want
We
we
don't
don't
want
want
that.
that.
Yeah.
We don't want
So yeah.
that. Yeah, nobody knows what an eye looks like either. So like hmm, yeah, just do an eye that's recognizable. And also that will also save time for
Mhm.
when I think about flourishing,
Mm.
um, for engraving,
Mhm.
especially, just don't do them.
I actually don't. I stopped doing that because a lot of people don't are not familiar with it. Like the only time I would do flourishing is like when I'm doing cards,
Yeah.
just to fill up space for
Yeah.
composition wise,
Yeah.
and layout. But like for engraving, very rarely that I do, unless if it's like a name. But if it's like a full like a message, I don't do it.
And this is kind of like a reverse muscle memory.
Yeah.
We practice calligraphy so much and we are ingrained to flourish. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
can't just end the N with an upstroke. Like that's
Yeah.
not natural. You're like, I need to bring it up and around. And like you don't have to.
You don't have to. Even if I do, it's the intention is to center.
Yes, there's a reason behind it.
Yeah, or like it just so it's very minimal.
Yes.
So
And like do it if you have time. That's totally
exactly.
cool.
That's
If
it.
it's like a super dead day at the mall, you have like 5 customers all day. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Create a masterpiece. Perfect. But
Mhm.
if you are specifically for the purpose of this episode, if we want to shave off time, it's that.
Yeah.
Like it's drafting or like, drawing a baseline. Some people are drawing X heights out there. Like, oh,
And the slant, cut that shit out. Or I'm also here like some people using like a washi tape to like for a guideline.
time.
Get rid of that.
Essence.
Do not do that on live events. Trust me, clients have said shit about that. They have said something about that. Don't do it.
And
Practice
if you like rip it off, you have to fix it. Like, so you're just going over it twice. Like, what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah.
And I hate the performance value of something like that. It's like
it's just not a good experience anymore.
Nobody wants to see the work that goes into the thing. Everybody wants to just see the magic.
They want to see the magic. They don't want to see how you do it.
They want to see your prep work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it happens all the time when you're like working on the thing. The customer comes over and they're like, "Can I take a video of you doing the thing?" And you're like, "Yeah, of course." And then here you are like outlining the pencil draft and they're like,
wait, that's not engraving.
when are we getting to the thing that's actually interesting? And this has happened to you and you're like,
yes.
And I'm like, I'll tell you when you can start filming. But then in that like 1 minute of prep work, you're like, damn, I shouldn't have done that.
And especially if you're like an influencer's event when it's like really high volume, they're like, okay, they always want to take a video of it, so you better be ready to not draft too much.
Yeah.
So like I guess obviously when it comes to speed, you deal with like some mental game where you're probably gonna get a long lineup, but right. So like
especially if you're slow, sorry. We've all had a line and it's
everybody has, yeah.
So like
it does make you nervous.
like panic breathing.
Like, oh my god, it's like never ending. But the trick, I guess this is also another performance thing. You still have to maintain your composure. Like, don't freak out.
Don't freak out.
Yeah. Take a sip of water if you need to. Take a breather.
Yeah.
But don't show that frustration. Like, oh my god. Just like, like don't show that to them. This is that's like the only thing I can say. Don't freak out.
Don't freak out. And so the don't freak out thing, I don't know if this counts as a pro tip, but I usually sneak my like minor panic into the moments where like it's in between customers. Mm-hmm. And even if you don't need it, just take a sip of water or like pretend you gotta sharpen your pencil. Like you just do a different thing that buys you like 5 seconds of sanity. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Right? Yeah,
like 1 second.
Yeah, 1 second. I just gotta do a nothing. Just so I can like gather myself.
Just reset.
Yeah, just reset. Yeah. And then this is the time to tell yourself, like, it's okay, you got this. You're a pro, you're good. Move on.
Mhm.
but it's like it's crucial because you're gonna let yourself lose it, and if you just if you panic and try to rush, don't rush,
Don't rush. Yeah,
don't rush.
yeah. It seems
Um,
like it, you can tell when someone is rushing when they're like they look nervous. It's such a mind game when you're like in such a you feel like you're rushed, but you can't rush engraving in a way because when you're doing it too fast, then it just looks bad. So it's just like
yeah,
it has to be smooth, but like it looks fast. Do you get what I mean? Like,
I get what you mean.
yeah, it's
So
smooth but not slow.
yeah, so here's the quote that I wanted to share,
Okay.
which I've been advised that I've already said before. But it's slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So if you take the conscious, like, just focus on doing it right and once, that result is going to be actually smoother and faster in the long run. If, like you said, you try to rush a thing and then having to go back to fix it, or like now you've made an error, or oh god, oh, I'm already like getting stressed out talking about the possible outcomes.
Yeah.
But just focus on doing it slowly and doing it right, and that will probably take you 2 minutes. Like the end outcome will be fast if you just like trust yourself.
Yeah. And that obviously comes with like practice, right? Confident muscle memory. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely not an overnight thing.
And we are not perfect. We are not.
Yeah.
We are not
You're not a perfectionist.
immune to this. I
Yeah.
have definitely rushed drawings before and done something wrong. Like I'll work off of a photo or whatever, right? And I have like completely gotten outfit color wrong, or like drawn the wrong thing, or like added a vest where there wasn't a vest. Like
I've
you
forgotten glasses before. I don't know why, but sometimes I'm just like, oh, I didn't realize you were wearing glasses.
you're just like you're watching the time, and sometimes like for me at weddings I'm always like mentally keeping track of how many couples in that hour I've drawn, right? And then if I'm a little bit behind, then I'm like, oh, I need to make up that time, I need to make up that time, right? And then you got that panic, you get that stress, and then as soon as I try to rush something, I'll get something wrong.
Yeah, right? Same. But if you're
So
like calm, collected, more likely you do that. You do it correctly.
mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know how else to say that. That's what it is.
This is yeah. It's yeah. Stay cool, y'all. All right. Let's talk about the quality part of the equation.
Okay.
So number okay, so quality, let's define what quality means.
Mm.
Um it could be consistency, consistency of maybe the style of your calligraphy, or a consistency of like, you know, maybe I don't know. Consistency of quality. What am I saying?
I
Consistency of like
think
what?
I'll help you out there. I
Yeah.
think you can be consistent within the job on site. So like everything you're outputting that day looks the same, like the same quality.
Wise. Yeah.
Or it could be consistent with your portfolio, which is very visible to the
Mm.
client, right?
Yes,
It's
yeah.
like, well, we hired you to do this thing. Like, what is it that we're looking at here?
Like why does it like this?
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, what you're showing is in studio that took you like 2 hours. And then, you know, when you're doing live, obviously it's reduced the quality. So make sure you want to show the
Yeah.
same type
I
of
finally added embarrassingly recent. I finally broke down the different types of illustrations that I do and the like various turnarounds for each type, so that it's a little bit more transparent, that like it's not just like here's a whole bunch of different illustrations I do and it's up to you to guess how long it takes.
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's consistency, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I definitely like my illustration for in boutique versus at like a corporate event. Very different. So that's
very
why I have
different.
two different like this will take like I'm not gonna do portrait like with details at like a corporate event, obviously, because it's gonna take more time. So I usually have example. This is the type of work that I can produce. You know, there's some less details on the few things, but because also I'm trying to hit a quota. So there's that consistency.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. What else? So, speaking of illustration,
Mhm.
some people and some clients would do this too, would determine quality based on like how much likeness there
Mhm.
is with your subject of what you're
Mhm.
drawing. Does it look like them? And clients do this too, right? They get their
Mhm.
drawing and they're like, this doesn't look like me.
Mhm.
And that's how they define it in their mind. It's like, does it look like me? Does it look like me?
Yeah.
Did you get my outfit right? Like this kind of stuff will matter.
Yeah. Because they have a style in mind that they want, right? Sometimes if it's going to be aligned with their vision, do they want realistic or do they want like they don't mind if it's like more fashion or more um like
Interpretive.
interpretive. Yeah, there you go. So it's depending how you want to like approach that or what
Hmm.
the client want, there has to be some alignment. Is it elegance or there's alignment to brand identity? That's also something that they also consider, whether it is illustration or calligraphy.
Hmm.
They have a brief, and I find that calligraphy and engraving is very straightforward. Usually it's like, okay, can you do this? Like foiling, I want all in silver, I want it all in gold, and we go with whatever style that you can do. But illustration could be a little bit more um complex. Like there's a lot more ways of how to approach it. It could be line drawing, it could be a lot more simplified than what we normally do. Those are has to be um it's there's a lot more I guess more communication in the discovery phase, you
Yeah.
find, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and sometimes clients are very upfront about what
Hmm.
they want, and
Hmm.
sometimes it's not that sometimes they're not upfront. Was what I was gonna say, but it's not that they're not being upfront. It's that they're not clear.
Hmm.
Like they don't know how to speak your language, right?
Hmm.
There's been times where a client is like, "This is what we want. We're introducing the upcoming season to our VIPs, and we want these outfits illustrated strictly,
Yeah.
right?"
Hmm.
And then you're like, okay, well, that's very clear. That's very like work is cut out. There's really no room for me to interpret that, so to speak,
Yeah,
right?
the Photoshop
Um,
situation.
yeah. And then there's times when and it's just like a completely different type of client. This one that I had that was very much like, we really want to preserve like your artistic, vision and style. So tell us what you think would work best for this. And then
Mhm.
you get to play like, ooh, I get to plan, I get to have input and a voice and how this might look like. And then when you come into the store, it's really up to you.
Mhm.
It can totally vary.
Yeah,
So, like you said, it's discovered in the discovery phase,
everything's
whether or
in
not,
between.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, yeah, so it really depending what they want and what you can deliver.
deliver. Yeah.
Yeah. So in order to achieve that, obviously you need to have again your foundation very strong. You need to master the skill first. So have a knowing how to do it slow before you go fast. There is no cookie cut when it comes to either calligraphy or engraving. Um, if you want to do engraving, you can't not learn calligraphy. And if you want to do illustration, you can't not know how to draw very simple, basic, like even like an apple, how to draw like a pear. Um, and or like, use a pencil first. You can't not skip that part where mastering how to use a pencil first before you start rendering with colors. Um, and then you just, practice slow, and then you time it, and then you figure out which part to take out, so then you can still produce a really good quality.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And that part is should be fun.
That part is an experimental part, but not so much like learning part.
Yeah,
It's like you've already known the basic. You're not learning anymore.
because I remember, like when we were trying to speed things up, it was challenging.
Oh my God.
It was really challenging, even though we knew how to draw. We just didn't know how to draw fast.
Yeah.
And it was very humbling.
100%.
It was very, very humbling because I was like, oh damn, I do not draw very well fast. Looks really bad. But yeah, it's like, okay, we'll spend like a full hour producing this like beautiful illustration of one person in a beautiful outfit. I'm like, yeah, that took me 45 minutes. It looks amazing. And then the moment I tried to do that fast, it like I don't know, it's like exploded on me. I was like, oh my God, I don't even know how to draw a human anymore. Like, why does it look so bad? But I realized it was just because like, you do like try to cut down too much time.
Yeah.
In one go. Like I was trying to do like a 45-minute thing, and like, how can I do this super fast in like 15? It's like, let's just work on like 30 minutes first.
Yeah. Yeah, like, it's a consistent, like, it's not an overnight thing.
Yeah.
Like I remember when we went through this, like before, it's like 1 hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 12 minutes. It was like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
And then do like 7 minutes.
Earth
And then like
shattering.
less than 5 minutes. It took years.
Yeah. It took longer than I thought.
Yeah, it's definitely not even like months thing. Like it took years to like.
Yeah, and that was like step one was like we already know how to draw very, very well, but slowly. But like that process of cutting details back and still making something look good was really hard.
It's freaking hard.
And still make it look like a person.
That's like proportionate.
And then once it was like it looked good, you're like, now how can I make it fun? How can I make it impactful? How can I make it extra pretty? So it's like you've gotten down finally to like 5 minutes or something, and you're like, wow, like I can't get any faster than this. This is great. And then now you're like, can I actually add a minute to that and then like make it amazing instead of like a decent drawing? I feel like that's what we're trying to work on a little bit more consciously now, is not so much the speed factor, but like now that we've brought like the speed up, like we're fast, and now we're trying to like balance the quality back up to say like, how can I maintain that speed but also like make it super good? So it's like a constant push and pull. But it is a balancing act. Like of course you're gonna degrade your quality the more fast you try to be. And then like, how do we pull it back a little bit? It's like constantly playing with that. It's fun. It's frustrating.
It's fun. I think I love the challenges to like.
It's frustrating.
It's frustrating.
I like that.
Oh my God. And then like, of course, like we talk about this again, knowing your materials, which one dry faster or like less finicky. We talk about that a lot of time on illustration, but when it comes to engraving, I've mentioned this. I like using a jar container type of gilding wax. I do not like rub and buff because it's a tube, which means if it's a tube, you need a cotton bud to apply, and then you need a cotton pad to
To
rub it off.
remove.
It's just like if there's more tools involved, I am not doing it. If I can find ways to reduce that, because like when it's a jar, I only need a pad.
Yeah.
That's it. And so you just eliminate the tools. It will eliminate your time, and it will
Mhm.
like speed up your process.
And you
Um,
know what? If you're obsessed with rub and buff, that's okay. But I want you to try to reduce the amount of rub and buff you use.
yeah,
Like
maybe you can like decant your rub and buff onto a jar. I don't know.
something.
Maybe.
And sometimes with just the cotton bud, if you're using rub and buff, like a tiny bit, and you don't need a cotton pad, just like
Yeah.
rub it in, and then with the same bud, you just rub it off, and then
Yeah.
it's gone. Like
Yeah.
you just have to find ways of cutting down that time and the number of like steps you give yourself
Yeah.
to make it more streamlined. And the more streamlined you are, like the more like the better you feel too. You
Yeah.
know, like when you're on site and when there's like less things to stress over, it's better experience for you too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. I also find it when you're using the rub and bud, because it's a tube that you take out, people always excessively spilled it out, and then which means it's more time for you to get it off,
Yeah.
get the excess off, and it slows you down and it tires you out.
And
Where
then the tube dries out and you're like,
ah, damn. It's such a mess. I don't know. It also smells really bad. So
I know, I'm just being devil's advocate, you know, like a tool can be great for whoever you like you choose your tool, but you have to make it efficient.
Mhm.
So definitely don't get stuck like married to the tool the way you learned it. Like
Mhm.
try to improve it.
Yeah, try to improve it all the time.
Yeah.
It's like something that you have to think about all the time, and being able to edit on the fly for whatever it is that you're doing. Like, what can you like? Should you add any flourishing? If like like what we mentioned, it's not centered. How can we make it centered? You add flourishing.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's how I do it all the time.
That's
Right?
editing on the fly.
Yeah.
Um, what else?
Um. So I think when it comes to quality, the part of the training is to not be perfectionist. You got to
Mhm.
get rid of that mindset, because perfectionism and overthinking will slow you down. And
And you know what it is?
mhm,
Perfectionism is so it's so big even.
mhm,
I'm not we don't even want to like shoot for close to perfect. We want like good and fast, like at the same time. We're
mhm,
not like I know there is a tendency like when we're doing a thing on site, we're like, oh, if I just have 30 more seconds, like if I just touch this up, it'll be so much better. I know we have this thought all the time. If I just do this, it will be so much better. But
mhm.
it's like, do you actually need it? Probably not. Like
Probably not.
don't spend that extra time to make it marginally better. Like you
Mhm.
don't like, oh, but this is like, but if I just spend one more minute like touching up these downstrokes, it'll be better. Yes, I'm sure it will be. I'm sure it will be better, but we don't need it.
Mhm.
I'm not saying downstrokes are bad. Don't take that away. I'm really trying to say like just when you're about to do something extra on top of what you've already done, like just think about like how much of a difference this is going to make. Um, you probably don't need to.
Yeah, there's like a limit of what is potentially it's acceptable or not. Yeah, letting it go. Like
That's
we're artists.
that's core to
Yeah.
being an artist. Like we're just
Right.
constantly trying to make it better.
Yeah. So it is that's it. You know what? That's where the practicing and training is coming. Um and Speaking of practicing, I think when we are things that people don't see when we're not on site is the practicing part. I find that like if I haven't drawn for even like a month, I feel like I become so rusty. So it is, I don't know about you, but like because like our skills is so varied, like we do calligraphy, engraving, bottle painting, and illustration. Those are very different things. And I feel like because of that, I need to keep like um I need to keep training my
Refreshing.
yeah, I need to keep refreshing, otherwise I'm gonna
Yep.
forget.
Yep.
So those are the stuff that I do when I'm not working, and I don't have to wait until I'm being booked. It's also not your hand too, like you keep also training your eyes, knowing what looks right and what's wrong. Those are the stuff that will improve the speed and quality. Um, so we very, very discourage panic practicing.
Don't do it.
Do not do it, please.
Don't do it. It is so stressful. Why stress yourself out like that?
Like it doesn't, your muscle memory doesn't work like that. It needs a consistent practice
Yeah.
for it to, like, I used to play piano. I don't remember how to play it anymore. Because I'm not practiced. Did I know how to do it? Yes, I used to, but I've been so out of practice that I'm like, me reading the worksheet, like I'll be probably really, really slow. So yeah, we can't just be like, yeah, I used to draw when I was 18 years old and I am now like 30 something years old and somehow I got an inquiry to do illustration. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do some panic practicing. That's not how it works. You are starting from the start. It's almost like even worse, panic learning. Um, it's not gonna help. It's gonna make you look bad. The client's not gonna be happy. Don't take that risk. Just keep practicing. Even if you're good at it, you need to keep rehearsing.
Yeah. I'm guilty of that sometimes. Of panic practicing. But it's not panic practicing. It's more like panic refresher.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, it's just a bad idea because let's say you you go on site and you're so stressed out on trying to like make the product. Like why put yourself in that position where it's not about the job, right? Like we say this a lot. Like it's not about this one job, because if you do a bad job at this one job, like you're just killing a whole bunch of opportunities for yourself.
Yeah.
Just do it right, ace that job, and then you're gonna get like 10 more jobs because of it. Think long term.
Yeah. Like again, like we talk about this in another episode. The goal is not just to get that job. The goal is for you to be rehired.
Yeah.
And then being, recommended by the client that you work with. But if you really messed up that first job, it's gonna kill your future job. So it's better to be. You cannot fake it till you make it. In this kind of industry, because I'm telling you, clients talk, words spread around, and you don't want to be the T.
And it's so awkward.
It's very awkward. And you you don't want to get there. So what can you do? Actionable, like we can, again, like we talk this over and over again, practicing, but what else can you do? After event, we usually like I usually do this too. Like I still do this when I think about when I have like every event, what's something that I can improve? Like let's do a debrief. Like what should I have done? What should I have done more? What should I do like less? It could be the setup. Should it be different? That's my setup changes all the time. Was there any tools that could have been better?
like small replacements.
Yeah, even
You're not doing some dramatic like get rid of everything and then
yeah.
redo everything. For me, what I'm least experienced at on site is painting with acrylic paints.
Mhm.
And so my setup for that is very stressful. Like every time I have to do it, I'm like, oh my God, what do I bring? How do I lay it out? I do it very infrequently on site
Mhm.
that I have to like really think about it every single time.
Mhm.
And then like I panic about it to Telisa and I'm like, I'm gonna use this silicone palette. What do you think? But yeah, it's like these amendments and that keep you engaged and like conscious about what you can streamline, what you can make better. And sometimes you do have to test it in an on-site environment to really find out if that tool is good. Because sometimes things might work out in your brain. Or even at home, and you're like, "Wow, this is gonna be good. I can feel it." You bring it on site, and you're like, "That was trash. I
don't do that again.
Never do that again. Don't do that." And that's definitely happened to me before. Or like it's like some things you keep in your case, and you're like, "I don't think I need to take that out. I don't need to set that up." And then like once you're 30 minutes into the job, you're like, "I really should have taken out that pen." Stuff like that, just like making mental notes of what went well, what went poorly, what can we change for next time, what have we learned.
Even like something as simple as where are you putting your brushes and where are you putting your engraving drill, depending on like which one is like your dominant hand. It's such a big difference. It will have an impact on your workflow. Like I used to put like my paint on my left, like my paint saver spot on my left, and then my engraving drill on my right because I'm right-handed. But I'm like, my neck's starting to hurt to do that. Like, like because so now I'm putting my paint right in the middle. And then like I'm putting all the other small, like my pencil and all that on my left, the ones that I don't really need as much. And then it's like, like moving things around, even that, like I still take mental notes of that and always keep changing.
I feel like that stuff and it's normal that it keeps changing because we're not we are dynamic human beings. There are sometimes that things work for us and sometimes things don't. So it's not like you're getting closer and closer to the perfect setup. It's just that you're just constantly amending to like what you feel like is better for you in this moment. I am so short. And so a part of my setup challenge is always chair and table height. Do you experience this?
Oh, yeah. 100%. There's like one place that I usually work at, and I always ask them, can I have a stool? Because the chair is too like low.
Right.
Every single time. And I know where to get that stool that like work for my height.
And okay, I'm so glad we're talking about setup. We didn't really plan on this, but this is so important on site is like to deliver your speed and quality. You actually need to be comfortable.
Yeah. Comfortable and doesn't hurt your neck or your back.
Yeah.
Ergonomically comfortable.
Yeah, then you can actually crank things out rather than like, the finicking with the it's like never good. I'm adjusting and it's not good. Yeah. One time on site, I'm so glad I like said it out loud because this was at a wedding and my friend assistant Ruby, she is just like the go-getter type. She's like, I'm gonna fix this for you kind of person, right? And I said it out loud. I was like, I think this chair is just a little low. It's just a little low for me. Like the table feels a little bit like I gotta reach for it, right? And she's like, okay, well, like let's try to solve the problem, right? And I'm like, okay, I don't know what I don't know what can be solved with like a shitty chair. And like 5 minutes later, after I've like set things up, she comes back with like somebody from the venue. And this guy is holding like sheets, like linens, extra tablecloths. And he's like, I didn't find a cushion, but like, will this do? And I was like, Oh my
give you a
god.
little boost.
Oh my god, actually, that just might work. And so like I put it down. I'm just like sitting on these like two extra tablecloths, and I'm like, that actually solved my entire problem. For the remainder of the 5 hours that I was gonna work on site, like that made a huge difference. So and that's something I never thought about before. About amending my setup, and it is always ask for extra linens because they always have that. But if I didn't like really think about editing that, um, I would have just resorted to like doing this all night.
Yeah. And yeah, definitely that's like because you want to be like, you want to be able to do this for the long term, right? So those are the things that are very important to you. Comfort really boosts your speed and quality.
And tell the client that. Sometimes they
Yeah.
ask. Sometimes
Yeah.
they're like, "Hey, what went well? What went poorly?" And if they give you the microphone to like voice your feedback, definitely. Yeah, your table kind of sucked.
Like it's like it moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they want to make sure that their guests and their end clients also receive good quality work, right? So that's like really important too.
hmm
There's like one thing, like I recently talked about like pet portrait on site, and I don't usually post that on Instagram because my worry is that people are gonna keep asking that on site live. So I make very clear um expectation in my caption that sometimes I do it if there is enough time and it's slow. So it's not always a request that I would take because it takes about 30 minutes if I would do it nonstop. But a lot of times I have to prioritize the people who want something quick, like a quick name engraving. So I'm gonna like, multitask. So that 30 minutes can sometimes become 2 hours because it's so busy because I'm not gonna, and I have to keep like
Juggling.
going back to it. So like, like I'm very clear about that. I'm not always open to do pet portrait, but I will do it if there's time. Um, and so when I'm doing painting event, I usually, depending on where I am, also like, but when it comes in department store or place that is safe, I usually have a lookbook, but that lookbook is with the work that I can do very fast. So I'm never gonna put my pet portrait in my lookbook because I don't want to open that kind of form. I don't want people to know that they can request
It's like
that.
it's
It's
kind
like,
of like an exception kind of thing.
yeah, it's like if you ask and if there's time, if there isn't, I'm not gonna do it. Because people always love to do that. Like, oh, can you do portrait? I can, but I'm not going to.
And we know it's really hard to say that on site, especially
Yeah,
when like a sales associate's like breathing down your neck and it's like,
yeah,
oh, can you just do this one?
yeah.
And you're like, oh, I can, but like we know it's really hard to have that conversation.
Yeah, and it has to be like I have to like see like if this is worth like because like at the end of the day the bosses are like, I don't want you to take a lot of time, but if you have time, yeah, but don't let anybody push you. Like just make sure that you know how to, push back.
Push back.
And I think that's like important, knowing how to push back. If you know you cannot, just say it. Like,
Yeah.
don't say yes and then you're gonna be like way over time and it's not gonna be
Mhm.
worth it, right? So, and also like, like if this is like a full size, and yeah, it's okay. But if you're getting like a small mini size, you're not getting a pet portrait. It's not worth the value. The whole thing, it's like it's an added value, right? So those are the stuff that like, you kind of have to decide on your own. Yes, sometimes quality also means a little bit slower, but like know how to maintain your boundary, know how to like manage that.
Yeah.
So actionable takeaways, we talk about practice.
Mhm.
um Practice slow first and then speed up after. And it's never
Not,
the other way around.
not the other way around.
Not the other way around.
I know we say this all the time. You're gonna die from us repeating it all the
I know.
time, but you just can't. You don't practice being fast at something by doing it fast. It's like doing a million times fast and poorly is just like you're never gonna get
The foundation.
better
Right.
at it. Yeah, yeah. Like
Mhm.
it's actually gonna take you longer to learn how to do it well and fast
Yeah.
if you
For sure.
continually like drill the wrong thing.
Exactly. It like becomes a bad habit.
Yeah.
And the next thing could be creating, I guess, if you want to say like a lookbook, if you want, but I have a signature fast style. So the way that I would do rose painting, very different in different timelines that I have, different capacity. I can do one in like a minute, but I can also like do one in like 15 minutes. It's gonna look very different.
Yes. Yes. And the way you get there is different, right? Like maybe you use two colors
Yeah.
versus mixing. Maybe you're just overlaying or whatever. Like you have a way of speeding it
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
that's true to you and
Yeah.
feels natural to you.
And that
Time
obviously,
yourself.
yeah, and that creates consistency, right? When you have that signature style, you have that consistency.
Mhm.
Yes, time yourself for sure.
Time yourself, time yourself, time yourself. And don't time yourself once, by the way. It's not like
Multiple times.
one thing. Yeah, it's not one thing took me this many minutes. Like, yeah, I can do this in this many minutes. No. Can you do 20 of those in a row? With 2 minute turnaround, like it's very hard. Sorry, like it's very different with no break than just doing one thing quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you also want to build and update your list of tools or any materials that or any styles that can like help you optimize your speed and quality. It's going to keep changing. Again, if it works for someone else, doesn't mean it works for you. You need to experiment it first. So don't skip the experimental part. What else?
Communicate clearly
Mm-hmm.
with your people ahead
Mm-hmm.
of time and also during because those are usually two different people.
Yeah. And they
So
might they may not communicate with each
they
other.
usually don't talk to each other. they usually have an idea of like how the event is gonna go down, and then you show up on site and they're like, "This is actually the way we're gonna run this event." And you're like, "Oh, okay, so let's talk about that a little."
Yeah. It's like, but the expectation, but the head office says this. I'm like, I know, but
We
this is
know.
what we want.
We know.
And you gotta be flexible about that. So
Yes. Yep.
yeah.
Clear communication. So important.
Yeah. What's the last thing we said?
Review,
Mm-hmm.
review, and edit.
Yeah. Review, edit, reflect, evolve for every single gig that you do. Take time to like make that reflection and think about and debrief what can you do better every single time. Even if you've been doing it 10 years, every single time, think about it. Like there's something that has to be, that could potentially be better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
That's it for this episode.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I feel like we covered a lot.
Yeah, we did. Hopefully that wasn't too long. Well, thank you for staying until the end. And if you have any questions, comments, please give us some feedback. If you haven't followed us on Instagram, Event Ready Pod, where we chat a lot with a lot of you. And thank you everyone for sharing your experience whenever we have a prompt. So it's pretty fun to see how engaged you are. So thank you for that. Isabel, where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram at Isabel Duzman and on my website, isabelduzman.com. And Telisa, where can we find you?
I'm also on Instagram and website. It's Rosein Art. It's ROESSEINART. And thank you for being here. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.